Hi everyone. In this video we are going to look at using the Consolidate command in Excel. Um, Previous to this we had worked on using something called a 3D cell reference, which is where you can get information from different worksheets in your workbook to use in a formula. So you can definitely do that, but Excel does have a Consolidate command that makes it very quick to be able to summarize data in a worksheet. So let's take a look and see how that works. Um, Basically, a consolidated worksheet, like I mentioned, it's summarizing information from more than one worksheet. And you can see in this example, we have 4 different worksheets that we're going to be looking at and using in our consolidation process. You can get totals from your data information. You can average. You can do other functions with it, and we'll see that in just a moment. Now, when you're doing a consolidation, you do have a separate worksheet that you will work with. And basically, the easiest way to do this is to make a copy of an existing worksheet and then just make some modifications. So there's 2 different ways to do consolidation. One is data consolidation by position, and one is data consolidation by category. In this example, we're going to be working on data consolidation by position. So basically what that means, if you take a look here, I'm on the first sheet in our workbook. It's called Location 1 Cass Lake. You can see that I have Q1 information, January, February, March, and our sales categories are down here on the left-hand side. If I go to location 2, you can see that, here we go, January, February, March. Here's our sales categories. They're all in the same position. So that's key when we're doing data consolidation by position. Your worksheets need to be set up in the same format for every worksheet that you're going to consolidate. So again, in this video, we're going to do 2 different types of consolidation. We're going to look at a static consolidation as well as a dynamic consolidation. So let's get started on our first one, which is going to be a static consolidation. And I'll explain that to you in just a moment. So in this exercise, what we want to do first is create our consolidation worksheet. And again, the easiest way to do that is going to be to make a copy. So I'm just going to right click on this Location 1 Cass Lake sheet tab, choose the Move or Copy. In this case, I want to move it to the end. I want it to be all the way at the end of the sheets that I already have, and I'll make sure to click Create a Copy so that I get a copy. So then I'll go ahead and click on OK. And here's my copy. And I'm going to rename this one Static so that I know that this is the static worksheet. Of course, you could obviously name it anything that you want. Okay, so now also I'm going to change the coloring in this worksheet so that it will set it apart visually from the other ones. So first thing I'll do is change the color of the tab. You can see if I click away from it, you can see it's blue, just like the Location 1 Cass Lake is blue. They always look a little different when you're clicking right on it. It kind of many times loses its color, so you're trying to figure out exactly what color is that. So the best way to figure out is to click on a different sheet tab. So in this case, I'm going to change the tab color. So I just did a right click right on the sheet tab itself. I'm going to go to tab color, and I want to choose the green accent lighter 60. And remember, you can always use your tooltip if you're not sure which one. Okay, so let's click away and we can see that that got changed. Okay, and then I'm going to change the coloring in the rest of this as well. So I'm going to change first, I want to do the A2, which that one is merged, but I also want to do A10 through E10 and A17 through E17. In order to select all 3 of those at the same time, I did my first selection up here, and then I used the control key. I held down on the control key, and I did my second selection, and then still holding on the control key, I did my third selection. So remember, the control key on your keyboard allows you to select more than one item at a time that are not next to each other. So now what I can do is I can go up here to my fill color, and I can come over here and let's change it to the same color as we did the sheet tab. So we'll click green accent 6 lighter 60. Okay, And then for this A1, which is also a merged and centered cell, I'm going to use this same green color, but I want it to be a little bit of a gradient. You can see right here. So in order to do a gradient, I have it selected. I want to right click on that cell. I'll come down to Format Cells. And you'll notice on the Fill tab, so just make sure you click on the Fill tab if it's not already showing. I have a button down here that says Fill Effects, and I'll go there. And this gives me the option to do a gradient. And in this case, I want to do two colors. The first color is just going to be white, and I'm just clicking on the down arrow, and I'll just click just to show you that this one is indeed white background 1. Okay, so that one's fine. And this one, let's change it to that green, this green that we've been working with. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so now I have some options here, and I think I'll go ahead and use this one up here on the top left quadrant here. And you can always see your sample here. So if you wanted to change things around, you could certainly do so. You get your little sample. So let's go ahead and click on OK, and then OK one more time. So now that looks good. I now have a different color scheme for my consolidated worksheet, which we're calling static. Okay, so we have things pretty well set up. So let's get to the consolidating part of the exercise. So basically what I want to do, I'm going to actually consolidate the information from 2 worksheets, and I want to do a total. So the information here for my January, February, March, for all of my sales categories is what I'm going to be consolidating from the 2 worksheets. So my first order of business is to go ahead and select from B5 through D8. And I want to delete that information because remember, this is our consolidated worksheet. So I need to go get information from my other 2 worksheets. So I want to go ahead and delete. Make sure you're on your consolidated worksheet, not one of your other ones that are in the workbook. So notice when I deleted all that information, everything else went away as well. And that's because we have formulas set up all over the place. So every other cell in this workbook is actually a formula, and you can see as I click around in here, you can see up here in the formula bar that there's formulas in here. So don't panic when you delete this information that everything else goes away. You'll see when we do our consolidation that all of the other data will come back because it's all set up as a formula. Okay, so first what we need to do is we want to select the area that we're going to have our consolidation information show up in. So if I go to B5 through D8, I know I just deleted that information, but that's the area where I want all of my consolidation information to show up. So now I'll go ahead and go to the Consolidate tab. I wanted to show you this. I did this before just to kind of show you how this works. If you see information down here, and kind of ignore it because it's going to be the same information that we're using, but I just wanted to show you how this works. If you're starting a new consolidation and you have references down here that are not applicable to what you're doing, you want to make sure to delete them. So I could click on that and click delete, click on the next one and click delete. That way we're starting off with like a clear palette. So that we're making sure that we're using the correct information in our consolidation. Okay, so here in Consolidate, you can see that I have the sum function, which is what we want. We're going to be adding information from the location 1 sheet to the location 2 sheet. So this is the correct function for us. Next, I want to come down here and click in the reference box, and this is where I'm going to tell Excel what data I want to use in the consolidation process. So with my cursor sitting in the reference box, I can go ahead and I'm going to go back to the location 1 sheet. I'm just going to click these little dots down here, and that tells me that there's another sheet that's sitting in this workbook, but it just doesn't have enough room to show it to me. So just click those little dots so you can get back to the first one, or you can use the arrows as well. So in this case, I want to choose B5 through D8 because that's the data that I'm using. So everything from January, February, March in all of my sales categories. And you can see that this definitely looks like a 3D reference that we've seen before. It's just Excel is kind of doing some of the work for us. So we're not having to build the formulas. That's what I was trying to get at. We're just telling it all at once which data we want to work with. So I'll go ahead and click on Add here. And then I want to get information from location 2 as well. Now notice that when I clicked on location 2, it already had this information highlighted, and that's because since we're doing this consolidation by location, our worksheets are set up the same. It knew that we selected B5 through D8 on our first the location 1 sheet, so it's assuming that the B5 through D8 is what we're doing here on this worksheet, which is correct. It's a correct assumption. So let's go ahead and click on Add. So make sure that you have all of the data that you're working with. In this case, we're only getting information from 2 of our sheets. So I do have the information in my references box down here. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And here we go. So it takes us back to our static sheet, and because I had selected the B5 through the D8, it knows that's where I wanted the information to end up. And you can see that I have all of the information here is filled in, and as promised, all the rest of this got filled in as well. Now remember, if I have a cell that has these pound signs or hashtags, it's telling me that the column is just not wide enough to show me the information in here. So I'm going to go up here in the column heading and get my double-headed arrow and double-click between C and D, and that will make the column, it will auto-fit the information in there and make it wide enough for me to see everything that belongs in there. So now, just to prove a point, if we were doing a 3D reference, I'll show you this. This is not part of your exercise, but just so you kind of understand the premise here. If I was consolidating, let's say, the January information from both sheets, I would start with an equal sign if I was, this is a 3D reference. I would click back on location 1 and then do the 25,000. And I'm adding, so I would put a plus sign. Then I would go to location 2 and click the B5 for the room and cabin rentals. And then I'm just going to press enter. And then here we go. So it's the 46,790, which matches that. So one, that proves that the consolidation did work. You can see up here with this cell selected that basically this is what the consolidation feature is doing. It's taking the information from B5 on the location 1 sheet, adding it to the information from B5 on the location 2 sheet. But it did it for all of our cells that we selected all at one time rather than us having to build in formulas for everything. So I'm just going to delete this. That was just a little example there for you. So now what makes this a static worksheet is if the information changes in either one of these sheets that we're using as our source data, this will not be updated. So remember this 46,790? If I went back to, let's say I went back to the location 1 Cass Lake sheet and I changed this to 35,000, so I added 10,000 more dollars here and pressed enter. You can see everything changed on this sheet, but let's go back over to our static sheet. Notice that this is still 46,790. So if you're going to be using you're going to consolidate information and you want to use a static summary consolidation, it would be best to use that if you are, let's say you're at the end of the year or end of a quarter and you're sure that you don't have any information that's going to change. Because again, it won't automatically update if any of our source data changes. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb when you're thinking about using the static workbook. Okay, so I'm going to go back here just you know, to make sure everything's good. I'll just change that back to the 25. Okay, so that is a static workbook.